Me now, the House Majority Whip, California Republican Congressman Kevin McCarthy. And Congressman McCarthy, I'm having a Bay Area hangover. My Packers lost to the Niners, and so I don't want to talk about Bay Area sports. But I want to ask.
That was a good field goal. You got to give him that. Quite a field goal.
I want to start with, I ended with sports, so I thought I'd start with sports, but I want to start with Governor Romney's critique of House Republicans. You were charged with getting the votes for this deal that included sequester. Do you now agree with Governor Romney, or is he wrong?
Reed, remember what the deal was. The deal was a debt limit where you had a president walk away, where you're doing in the final hours, and the only idea that the Democrats had was this so-called super committee. So Republicans went along to make sure the cliff did not fall off. And then what happened in the super committee? Republicans offered an idea, Democrats did not. Republicans all along have never gone through with the sequestration because we've offered the ability to fix it. We've done it in our budget. We offered a plan, so you never went to it. It's the Democrats that walked away. But what's more importantly here, when you're talking about the book that just came out, it comes from the White House, and the White House never had another plan. And then you watch the president walk away from one of the biggest negotiations to actually have a good agreement. You know, the worst thing here is...
Do you really think, though, let's talk about that agreement. Do you really think you could have sold $800 billion and that there were 200, you guys were determined to have 218 Republicans sign on to this deal? That you could have had 218 Republicans sign on to $800 billion in tax cuts? I mean, this is where the he said goes on here, which is who walked away from which deal. Everybody believes their deal, that the other side walked away from their deal.
Well, just being around during that time, I remember the situation. I remember when the president said no more. I remember watching the president go on TV when we're a couple days away and said he's not going to sign anything, that he ended up signing. It was almost like a spoiled child, I'm going to take my basketball and leave, not going to play anymore. That is not what you need in that situation. And the difficulty here is looking at government, usually in divided government, we're able to achieve big things. Bill Clinton got together with Bob Dole and Newt Gingrich and reformed welfare. You had Ronald Reagan get together with Tip O'Neill and Ross Gronkowski and reform the tax code. That's the fundamental difference. It takes leadership from the White House.
Whose idea was it to make the debt ceiling leverage?
Well, that all came from the White House and Harry Reid. That's all they came back with and asked what they wanted. I'm
confused. I mean, the whole reason we were at the debt ceiling showdown, though, was because for the first time in years, the House Republicans weren't going to just give a de facto vote on the debt ceiling as they had through the Bush years.
Now, let's be honest. The whole reason we're at a debt ceiling because Washington spends too much money. The whole reason we're at a debt ceiling is because we've had trillion-dollar deficits year over year and no budget being passed. The American people is asking to balance this budget. The debt ceiling is rising. When we sat down with the credit individuals, they looked at it and said, if you went through the same way you've gone through past Congresses, we'll all downgrade you. Republicans proposed cut, cap, and balance. All credit agencies said they would approve that and actually put America on a different path.
So you don't believe this was a Washington-made economic crisis because there didn't seem to be this crisis here for the markets and for potential economic calamity without the political decision to make the debt ceiling a piece of political leverage.
Look, Washington made the crisis because they continue to spend more than they bring in. They do not pass a budget, even though the House Republicans have. Washington has created this problem because they spend too much. Every credit agency came in and said they would downgrade us if you continue to go down this path. So Republicans believed in creating something different, actually putting us on a fiscal path to paying down the debt and having a balanced budget.
What do you think Mitt Romney's got to do to sort of get back control of this campaign a little bit?
Well, let's not overreact here. You know, Jimmy Carter was ahead right now. Dukakis at this time was, what, 17 points ahead coming out of the Democratic Convention?
Not in September, not coming out of the Republican Convention.
Coming out of the Democratic Convention he was. Now, let's remember this. This is when people start to focus. I think he just has to lay out his plan, show the difference. The American public understand what has happened in the last 4 years.
You think he needs to do more details? A little more detail?
Well, I think he needs to go to the voters and see what America would look like under him. And I think people are just now beginning to focus as much. So from a couple different standpoints here, I think the best speaker coming out of the Democratic convention was Bill Clinton. I don't think Obama did very well, and I think the American public know what to expect 4 years from now. So show the difference. People are now looking at it, weighing where they want to go, and I think the polls are going to begin to move. But the president continues to divide the nation, and the sad part I have as an American, you don't want to divide this nation anymore to be able to achieve, because at the end of the day, we won't be able to pass if you continue to divide us. If you can divide us state by state, people by people, we will fail.
I have to leave it there. Kevin McCarthy, number 3 on the House Republican side. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Thanks for having me.